In this video, we're going to be gluing in the neck on this base. I like hide glue for this particular task, so I'll go into some details on how to use this glue, along with the fitment of the joint and some details on the base itself. This is the base we'll be working on. It's a 6-string, featuring yew wood, walnut and wenge. As you can see, the yew has plenty of knots and a few small splits. This is quite normal for yew, and part of the character of this wood. These little voids have all been filled, and the body has been sanded to 180. I like to get as much done as possible before the body and neck are joined, so that all is needed afterwards is the fine sanding. Let's have a quick look at the neck. It's a walnut and wenge 3-piece laminate, with a wenge fingerboard featuring yew inlays. You've also got yew veneers on both sides of the headstock, with a black accent in between. The heel also has these same veneers to tie it all together. The base will be getting an oil finish, but in order to use my headstock decal, the headstock face has been lacquered. On the back, I've mostly shaped the body heel. There'll be a little bit more fine-tuning after the neck is glued in, but the basic shape is there. Here I'm test fitting the neck. You want a joint which is tight enough so that there is no slop, but not so tight that you struggle to get it in. The water in the glue will swell the wood slightly, so that needs to be taken into consideration. As you'll see here, it's tight enough that the base can still be picked up by the neck without it falling apart. This shows some of the glue that I'll be using. The glue starts out in beads. Next they are mixed with the water. 1 part glue to 1.9 part water works well for me, but it does depend on the glue itself. I then let it soak for a couple of hours. By then the glue will have absorbed the water and it's time to heat. The water in the pan here was already warm, so the glue has started to partially melt even though the heat was off. It looks a bit more solid than this before it starts to melt. Time to heat the glue. The jar is placed into a pan of water which I heat to 60 Celsius. I use a thermometer to make sure we get the temperature perfect, as if it gets too hot it'll weaken the glue. You also make sure the lid of the jar is only loose and not too tight. You can maximise the open time of hide glue by working in a warm workshop. I also like to warm the joint to help. I'm doing this with a heat gun here, but taking care not to get anything too hot. Now it's time to apply the glue. I paint it onto all mating surfaces and make sure nowhere gets missed. I need to work quickly to make sure the glue doesn't set before I get everything in place and clamped. You'll notice I've added some masking tape to the parts which might be difficult to clean excess glue off afterwards. On the easier to clean parts, I'm not particularly bothered about the excess glue, as hide glue cleans up so easily. I use a couple of blocks of wood to disperse the force of the clamps. I actually also added 2 more smaller clamps once we stopped filming, just to be sure. I leave the base 24 hours before taking out the clamps, and here is the finished joint after a bit of cleanup and smoothing out.